All right, guys, we have the intro to the intro, so you know we're doing some cool stuff. I wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about this. This is a new sponsor. Yeah, we got a sponsor for the podcast, and it's none other than Bad Motivator Barrels. Go to badmotivatorbarrels.com. I'm going to set it down. Go to badmotivatorbarrels.com and find you a good barrel. Go to the checkout. You put coupon code SHAMAN5. And I'll give you 5% off that barrel. This is a limited time offer. We're going to run this for a little while and see how it works. These guys have really tight margins, so get it while you can. And also, they have a wait list of people trying to get the barrels. So get in there and get them before the holiday rush. That's why we're doing this a little early, so that you don't have to worry about the holiday rush. You're going to run out. And you're probably thinking, well, I'm not a craft distillery. I'm not a hypothetical whiskey maker. Why would I want one? Well, like I've said before, for one, they're cool as hell on the shelf. And they have different char levels, toast levels. They're doing all sorts of cool stuff with like old bourbon barrels and stuff like that. But why would you want one? Because if you're really into whiskey, part of that is changing whiskey and learning about it and stuff like that. So taking it and putting whiskey in another barrel and double oaking it or something like that is a really cool concept. So go to your local, there's a local distillery by you. I'm sure there is. Get some of their new make and fill one of these barrels and make your own whiskeys. Totally legal. Nothing skirting the line there. So get you one of those, fill it up. It's super cool. Yeah, it takes a little time and effort and stuff like that. But if you're really into whiskey and you want to nerd out on it, that's the best way to do it. So again, go to badmotivatorbarrels.com at checkout. Make sure you put Shaman5 because you get 5% off that barrel. And I cannot thank Chris over at Badmo enough for taking a chance and sponsoring us. And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate all the listeners. And y'all have fun, be safe, and also stay tuned. The podcast is coming. It's a banger. I'm going to tell you right now, this podcast is going to be a banger. So until next time, keep your spirits up, guys. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Today we got a very interesting guest. I'm not going to say he's the greatest guest ever, but he's pretty close to it. Today we're talking with Bearded and Bored. And he's going to talk.
Is me.
That is him. And we're gonna get into what he's all about and kind of go down his path. And we're gonna try not to incriminate him if we can. So here's Bearded.
The most interesting podcast guest in the world.
Absolutely.
Pretty sure you booked the wrong guy.
You know, we take what we can get around here.
Well, we scraped the first 15 off our list, and now we're down to the bottom. Hey, call that Bearded guy.
Yeah, exactly. No. You know, I've been following you for a while, and if people that are listening don't know who he is, this dude has a YouTube channel, and he's rocking and rolling, doing some cool stuff. You know, it goes all over the place. One day he's putting shutters on his house. The next day he's making a beer. The next thing he's malting corn, you know, so it's pretty interesting. So why don't you go ahead and give us your socials and where people can find you?
I rarely ever go to Twitter. I refuse to call it whatever Elon changed it to because that's just dumb.
Absolutely.
It'll always be Twitter because I'm old. Beard and Bored at Twitter. And I don't do Facebook. I committed Facebook suicide like 15 years ago. I just deleted my account because it was just, family crap. And, I talk to my family on the phone. I don't need to see every goddamn thing that they post.
I got you. Got you.
Easiest way to contact me or look me up is on YouTube. Bearded and Bored on YouTube.
And yeah, I mean that's kind of how it is with social media. It's like it's a hate it or love it type thing. When you're trying to grow if you want to call it a brand or whatever,
You need to
Yeah.
be out. You need to be out and be social. And I try to post a lot on Instagram and stuff like that. But it's like,
I have it. I have an Instagram account. It's just rare that I remember to go to it.
people are commenting to things from like 6 years ago on there.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I look at shit, but the little counter over on the side as far as telling me how many notifications I have,
yeah,
it just keeps going up, and I'm like, I'll get to it one of
yeah,
these days.
yeah, yeah. It's like one of my buddies. He does not ever check his emails, and he has like 47,000 emails, and I'm like,
Oh my.
bro, that gives me so much anxiety.
Yeah,
I see one little notification that I have one, and I'm like, who is it? Who is just trying to
yeah.
email me? So yeah,
47,000 just makes my asshole pucker.
absolutely, absolutely. And 95% of them are spam bullshit. So it's like,
Oh yeah.
you know. So what kind of stuff are you into? I mean,
Um, well, I like hardcore BDSM
okay,
and burning myself with candle wax. No, neither of those
okay.
things.
I mean, we can go
You
straight
said,
there if we have to. That's fine.
well, if you're gonna ask,
Yeah, exactly. I
um,
maybe I should kind of screen my questions a little more.
be like, well, let's just keep it in the category of this hobby. How about that?
Exactly, exactly. We're talking whiskey stuff. We're not talking
Oh, oh,
what you do in the bedroom, or I guess in the
oh, whiskey
dungeon.
in the bedroom. I mean, I do that shit in the
Yeah,
garage. No.
yeah.
Um, I started out, I think, it was way back in 2014. I kind of gotten the idea to, no, actually 2012. I think one of my friends gave me his Mr. Beer kit, the ones that came in
Mm-hmm.
it was like a plastic barrel shaped
Mm-hmm. Yep.
fermenter, and it was clamshell that came in half, and you put all your kit in there and ferment it, and it made terrible beer.
I'm sure.
That was terrible beer, but it got me interested in it, and I think by 2014 I had started brewing my own cider with just stuff I'd found online, and then I wanted to start making my own beer. Did that for, I don't know, 6 months, and then it popped into my head, well, couldn't I couldn't I turn this into whiskey? And so I just started doing research and reading up on it, and then the liquor fairy came floating by one day and said, "Hey, why don't we build a contraption, some metal art sculpture out in the
Yeah,
garage?"
absolutely.
And so I built my first metal art sculpture, and uh, it was garbage, and I threw it away.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then I built a second one, and then that one sank into the swamp.
Yeah. Yeah. That. Wow. Yeah.
um, sorry.
No. No. It's good.
um, I, Monty Python references will
Abs-
pop out occasionally.
no. And we're all about that here.
Um, I think it was the I think it was the second or third attempt at building metal art sculptures in my garage that finally succeeded, and then I just left. I just walked away. I had all the materials. I had wash there. I had the metal art sculpture, and I just left. And then the liquor fairy came in and turned that into brandy.
Wow.
And then my wife said, "Get that liquor fairy out of my house."
Yeah. Absolutely. You didn't have to leave any money behind.
No,
No
no, no,
cookies.
no. I mean, I gave him a hand job, but
Oh, but yeah. I mean, that's obvious.
who doesn't like a handy?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sorry, my day job, I work with all guys, so
So, I mean, I would say I do too, but I work by myself, so I work with all guys too,
well,
but it's just me.
technically the same thing. So, you and I had talked um, several years ago
Yeah.
uh, through Jesse.
Yes.
We were actually going to meet at one of the Bastards events,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't make it, but I had meant to give you a gift.
Okay.
this.
Oh,
I still have it. It's still aging with a teeny tiny sliver
okay.
of toasted maple.
Oh, wow.
This is the Frankenstein whiskey
Okay.
that was in one of my videos. It's in the sourdough whiskey,
Oh, wow.
where
Yeah.
I used a whole mixture of different grains that I had left over from brewing and a big sourdough starter. So this is pandemic whiskey,
Oh, wow.
and it's been aging on maples for that whole time since August 15th of 2020.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna drink any, but I'm gonna take a little smell.
Please do.
It's pretty good. It
Yeah.
needs some. I think it needs a sliver of oak in there.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I'm gonna throw a little oak in there.
Okay.
But it's got that is one of my favorite whiskeys because it was so unexpected. I had no idea what was going to happen with it,
Right.
and especially using a sourdough starter. Um, eh, just the flavors were so much more complex than any whiskey that you can buy on the shelf.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, there's nothing that compares to it. I have tried plenty of whiskeys and I've tried some experimental whiskeys, but they are limited in what they can do because they can't buy 10,000 pounds of five different weird grains for
Right.
one spirit,
Right.
you know, because those different grains, they are specialty grains. And so the more specialized they are, the more time they have to spend in the kiln, the more expensive they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And if that whiskey doesn't work out, then they've just sunk a whole shit ton of money into it. But
Yep.
as people in the hobby distilling community, hypothetically, we can do whatever the fuck we want.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
if you want to throw apples in your whiskey mash and, or if you want to throw in some, I don't know, anything, you know,
Absolutely.
what's going to happen if I throw okra in here? I don't know.
It'd be weird as hell, but why
It'd
not?
be
Try
weird
it.
as hell, but yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Might taste like shit, might be amazing.
Well, and I will tell you that's one of the reasons. I mean, I follow you anyway, but that's one of the reasons that I follow you. You like to do the weird stuff, like
I really do.
like the whole the thing that really got me hooked, and this has been a while, but like the thing that really got me hooked and was like, oh, I don't know, he's doing something different, was when you started malting your own corn and you made that
Hmm.
contraption to spin it
Yeah,
and
my
all that.
tumbler.
Yeah, like I was just like, okay, he's not just like doing cool stuff. He's a freaking mad scientist. Is what it is. He's doing
Yeah,
weird
I love fucking
stuff,
around with shit.
and so like that to me was really cool. So tell us a little bit about the backstory on that because that to me really interested me.
I think it started. The fire got lit on that because I watched the Popcorn Sutton video,
Mm-hmm.
and then I watched a little clip about Jim Tom,
Yes.
and they talked about using malt, and I was like, what the fuck is malt?
Yeah.
So I just started doing research and digging into it, and I was like, I wonder if I could malt my own corn. And so I just went and got a bag of popcorn from the grocery store, and just did enough research that I was able to halfway kind of get into it and
Mm-hmm.
do a successful batch, and then realized I could do it even better and just kind of progress through it. So by the time the video came out, I had already made like 8 batches,
Oh wow.
and uh, I that's the thing is I'm and Jesse considers himself to kind of the same way. We're information condensers.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I learn about this one topic, I'm going to present it in that video because I want to save you guys time. I don't want you to have to go and dig through all the fucking dead ends and the forum posts where guys are just pissing and moaning at each other about
Yep.
a small little bit of minutia about a recipe or something, or just getting into sometimes they'll get into pissing matches about
Mm-hmm.
dumb stuff.
Absolutely.
And I've waded through all that for years and got to the point where I was developing my own recipes for things, and I was like, I'm really, really proud of what this turned into. I kind of want to share this.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of how, how it turned out. I think the the first and really only viral video I've had was the Applejack video,
Same.
and that one was just luck. I mean, that was magic. I saw another guy's Applejack video, and he did it in 3 parts or 2 parts,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I could do that in a 10-minute video. And so I studied up. I made probably about 6 batches of Applejack. Loved every
Okay.
single one of them, and made sure that I had my process down and I knew what I wanted to talk about. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, then, then before I knew it, I had a YouTube channel with a following, and I was.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had to tell my wife about it.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
was like,
Exactly.
"You did what now?" I said, "Yeah, I have like 5,000 subscribers." And she was like, "What?" I had 4 videos up, and she
Right.
was just like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, look, I'm, just sharing my hobby."
Yeah. And that's what's cool about it. Like the unpretentiousness that you have in your videos makes it to where like the normal dude who like it isn't even in the hobby, he doesn't have anything to do with it, they just like to watch cool videos. Like you bring it at that level to where like somebody who knows nothing about what you're talking about can still get enjoyment out of it, which I think what I
Thanks, man.
for me that's really cool because like I'm constantly sending your videos to like people that I know that aren't even into whiskey. Really, they're not into
Yeah.
anything, they don't care, but I'm like, dude, look what this guy did. Like, crazy or not, whatever you want to say, crazy or not, look what this guy did. And
I
so
appreciate that, man.
that's really intriguing to me. But yeah, no, I mean, just some of the things that you've done, and I'm not going to gloat on you too much because I don't want you to get a bigger head than you already have. But at the same
No, stop, don't.
yeah,
No.
exactly. Exactly. But like, and the fact that the way that you approach it, and then now that you have a larger following, and I would say, second, third largest, we'll just say it's debatable.
I'm third largest. I mean, the fact that George, has taken a hiatus is the
Yeah.
only reason why I'm the
Yeah.
third largest, I think.
And we could talk about George too if you want. I mean, his information was very like whiteboard. He was
He's
so
my favorite biology teacher from high school.
absolutely.
That is because everybody had a favorite science teacher
Yes.
at
Yes.
some point in your education. George reminds me of that guy so
Yep.
much, or kind of an amalgamation of several teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as breaking down really complex stuff into a way that, hey, the guy in the back, you pay attention,
Yeah.
that's George. And
Yes.
he really just, yeah, Jesse and I both said this privately to each other. We would not have YouTube channels about distilling if it was not for George.
Absolutely.
He broke down the door
Mm-hmm.
and showed what it could be, and then gave us he built his own audience, and then gave us access to that audience
Yep.
because he's gracious and amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and helped us answer questions and helped us get started, and then we just kind of branched off on our own.
Right.
And
Exactly.
that's I will always owe George. He is one of my favorite people,
Yeah.
and good dude, solid dude.
I got to talk to him on the phone a couple of times,
Mhm.
just talking shop and stuff like that. And he,
It was so weird how he would always post his phone number. Like,
yes,
dude, what are you doing?
yeah, like, are you trying to get everybody and your mother calling you? But he didn't care. That was the thing. He could
No,
care
he
less.
doesn't.
He could care less. I mean, I thought about
Also, his balls are about this big, and they're made out of steel,
yes,
and
you're
they
right.
just swing.
Yes,
He
yes,
has trouble walking with
yes,
balls that big.
yes. He does. He does. And it's really funny because he could give a shit less. He did what he did.
Mhm.
Now, I would say to me, and since some of the things he said, I was like, I don't know. Like there was a couple of things, but most of the time he was right. He was spot on with everything that he said.
Yeah,
And
and that's the thing is, George always said, this is how I do it,
Mhm.
But, if you find information that's different or better or works better for your system or your personality, it doesn't
Right.
matter. Do what works for you.
Mhm.
This is a launch pad.
Yep.
And, I know that, he was really into the PIDs for a while,
Mhm.
and a lot of people gave him crap for that because it's, it's not as good of a system when you're, you know, well, it's just not as good of a system.
Right.
But it was a launch pad. How many people got into distilling doing it that way? And then they realized, oh, I want to try something different. I want to
Right.
use a different kind of power controller
Right.
and or build a different still. I mean, PIDs have their place. Personally, I think they're good for brewing and
Mhm.
malt drying. You know,
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
but I think if I hypothetically, if I were
Mhm.
distilling, I would want to watch it.
Yeah.
Watch my flow rate, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Temperature is only meaningful to me in terms of, oh, okay, it's time to pay attention.
Right. Right.
Like once we get to a certain temperature, then it's time to start paying attention.
Right.
Before that temperature, then you know I can play video games or
Yeah.
take a
Exactly.
nap.
Yeah. And so for the listeners who don't know what a PID is, it's a acronym for a precise integral derivative or something like that. So basically, it's a set point that you make on a little keypad, and it turns power on and
Yeah,
off.
it's a little power controller with a digital readout on it. You say, I want I want to bring this my heating element. Sorry, my brain's on 60% right now.
Okay.
You
It's
say, I
okay.
want to turn my heating element off at 165, or I want to float this temperature at 165 degrees. And it'll make sure that it cycles the power through that heating element. Nice. And until it hits that temperature, and then it'll float it right there. And then if you want to go up, if you want to increase or decrease, then you make those changes and it'll do its best and keep it right there by turning the power on and off, doing different cycles. And that's good when you are new to the hobby. When you're brand new to the hobby, you have no idea where the cuts are. You don't even know what they smell like.
Mhm.
A PID is fantastic because it kind of takes that work out of it for you, but it's not something you should rely on forever because depending on what you're making, depending on the goddamn weather and the
Yes.
barometric pressure, stuff's going to come out. Your heads and hearts are going to have a different transition point. Your hearts and tails are going to have a different transition point, and the PID doesn't know that, but
Yeah.
your senses do. Your eyes, your nose, and your taste buds. So, um, but as far as like if you want to just have a still and run it and not really think about it, just swap your jars and know that roughly my hearts are going to start here
Right.
and they're going to end over here at this temperature. That's fine. Um, and a lot of people are like that because a lot of people don't want to work on their car. They just want to buy a car that works,
Yes.
you know. And it's the same kind of thing. If you like tinkering, if you like having a little bit more hands-on experience, then you don't use a PID. If you
Right.
don't want to tinker, then a PID is just what you need,
Yep.
you know,
You're right. You're
or
right.
one of the several tools.
Right. Big.
And George and Jesse and I, we had a long conversation about that when we all got together, and Jesse put it on his channel, and you know, I was so drunk.
I
I
know.
was so
I
drunk
know.
because we were having a good deal of scotch, and
That's
George
never a
brought some
bad day.
very
That's never a
yeah
bad day.
it wasn't um, but I'm sitting in between these two, trying not to look too drunk on camera, and the whole time I'm just like, mommy and daddy are fighting. But they weren't. It was just a difference of opinion, and in the end, they come to an understanding of I like to use it for this, and I like to use it for that, and this is how I like to run my still, and this is how I like to run mine. And you'll notice you know, George was heavily reliant on PIDs in his early videos, but I think as his audience matured, he started going with other power sources and
Right.
explaining how those work and how to
Right.
wire them up and all that. And God, do you remember when all of his content left YouTube for a little while?
Yes. Yes, I do.
That freaked me out.
It
And
did.
it happened slow enough, like it was over like 2 days. I downloaded every fucking video he had.
Wow.
I
Okay.
downloaded all of them that were up at the time. And I think I still have them on a hard drive somewhere because I was just like terrified that I
Yeah.
would lose all this information because I hadn't taken enough notes,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Exactly.
And that's the thing, kids. Take notes. That's the difference between science and screwing around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll try and link that video in the when we post this. Obviously the audio listeners won't have it, but go to the YouTube channel and you'll find it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, and I don't want to talk about George all night because that's not what we're here for. But like he was a wealth of knowledge.
Oh yeah.
But he was also really cool when he was like, you know what, you might be right, I'm wrong. And
Yeah.
the fact that you and Jesse both got to hang out with him and just kind of chew the fat on all of that and create some
Yeah.
pretty cool videos. You
And
could
some
tell
good
you could tell
memories.
y'all were having fun, which was great. And that's how it should be. Like
Yeah.
it shouldn't be a competition. There should be none of that BS. It should just be
Yeah.
three
Like
dudes hanging out.
if every hypothetical hobby distiller got together in one big fat room, there should be no arguments.
Mm-mm.
There should be no disagreements other than, I don't like the way that it tastes, or I like to run it this way. But nothing serious. It's
Nope.
just like, why'd you use that kind of carburetor on your, on your
Yep.
classic car?
Yep.
Because I like the way it runs.
Yep. In the end, it's all about what's in the glass and what got in that, what it took to make whatever's in the glass. And it could
Yeah.
be a good vodka, it could be a whiskey, it could be whatever. It's all about the story that's behind it. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this podcast. I hate to say it like that, but that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is just relay the story behind the spirit. Because whiskey in itself, you can go get the same bottle off the shelf, the same Jim Beam, whatever, I don't care, the same
And
bottle every time, and it's going to
that's
be
the beauty
fine.
of commercial whiskey. That is the absolute beauty of commercial whiskey, is that if you fall in love with something, you will be able to get it, well, unless it's a limited run,
Right.
But you will more than likely be able to find it, or something super close to it, every day.
Yes.
However, when you make something that you nickname Frankenstein because it's just patched together shit,
Yes.
and there's a real likelihood you will never create that again.
Nope.
Mainly because there was a sourdough starter, and those are unpredictable.
Absolutely.
All the weird flavors that are going to get contributed are unpredictable, but that's also the magic of this hobby. And I just love it. I love fucking around with shit and then showing everybody what happened. That's why I have this channel. Look at this weird shit that I just did.
Exactly. Like my wife has had a sourdough starter for, oh good Lord, 3 years now. And it has gone through some crazy changes. Like some days you can see the level of alcohol on the top of it.
Oh yeah,
it's just going crazy. And other days it smells like ass. And then some days it smells like bread. And you're just like, what the hell? But like, and she almost lost it. She literally almost lost it. And then she had some discard that she had been putting in the fridge, and she was able to save it with her discard, which hallelujah for that. Cause I mean,
make some of the best bread you'll ever eat.
Oh my God. It, like, seriously. Yeah, I can't even. And the good thing is, it's low gluten. It's all of the things, to where you don't have to worry about it. Of course, flour, you have to find the right flour, but yeah, I mean, the flavor on it is just so, and anybody who comes over, they're like, can I have some bread? And she started doing a rye sourdough, and that changed the game right there. Once you start going into rye and other grains.
Well, that's That's inspiring right there. I think you just named a topic for a video. That's
Abs-
what's going to
no,
happen.
no, I guarantee you, probably the best sourdough I have ever had. And like, I'm not huge
All
big
right. Well,
on.
I want to talk to you about that off camera.
Absolutely, absolutely. Stick around. There might be bloopers afterwards. Who knows? But I mean,
Probably.
like the flavors that came off of the rye. Like, I'm not a huge rye bread. Like, I love rye whiskey and stuff like that. But like a rye bread, it's like it gets almost too, like, I hate to say herbal or something like that. Like a, but
Yeah,
this one,
it's there's
hit.
there's some flavors that can be a little strange, like
Yes,
almost a dill.
yes,
Sometimes there's almost a dill
yes,
flavor to it. And it's like,
yeah.
where the hell pickles come from,
Yeah.
you know?
Now, if I had
But
pickles on my sandwich with it, that'd
yeah,
be
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But like by itself with
That's
a piece of butter with butter bread, you're like, no, I
yeah.
don't want
I'll
that.
tell you what, some sourdough rye bread with pickles, fresh onions, spicy mustard, and Braunschweiger liverwurst.
Oh no.
Oh,
Oh no.
oh,
No.
oh, you
No.
slap your
You
mama. It's so
you
good.
must be German. Oh my God. My
My wife is the farthest thing away from German and she
okay.
likes it.
Okay. Well,
I mean,
you
it's
know,
basically meat peanut butter.
yeah, I
That's kind of what that's
that's
kind of
what
how it
freaks me
eats.
out even more. It freaks me out
It's
even
so
more.
good.
No,
So
no,
good.
I can't do it. I can't do it. My wife is very much German, and my father-in-law is 100% German, and he is constantly coming up with like blood sausage and like all
Oh
of these
no, I
things, and
can't
I'm
do.
like, oh God, oh, no, I can't. I can't.
Yeah,
I'm all about like
I can't do.
and head cheese and all of these things, and I'm like,
Mm,
mm,
I've had it, but it's
yeah.
not
So have
great.
I. I mean, I tried it, but yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't. I can't do it.
Blutwurst is
Yeah.
not my jam.
No, no, it's not. It's not. So I don't know how we got on sausage, but you know, that's never a dull moment
Because
with
it's a
that.
sausage party.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So um where yeah, I don't know where to go from
I don't
there,
know,
man.
something about George, right? You're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
George,
George,
yeah.
whiskey
So
or something.
yeah, yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine. We're gonna come back and it's gonna be fine. Um so so you're the one that kind of introduced me to the 1030 barrels, because
Yeah.
you had started using them, and I was intrigued because, like, everybody thinks of a big barrel, and
Yeah.
everybody thinks of, like, there's no way that a home guy could ever fill up a 53-gallon barrel, or even like a 10-gallon
Well,
barrel or something like that.
well, it depends on how motivated you are, but yeah,
Absolutely.
generally that is true.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, unless you want to have $8,000 worth of hearts laying
Yeah.
around,
Well, I got 3 pallets of grain coming in,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
but yeah.
So yeah. Tell us what kind of intrigued, because I mean, if you've been in the community long enough and watched enough videos, you see the guys putting the little oak staves or the chips and stuff in jars,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
fine and it works.
That's your easiest way to do it.
Yeah,
That's the easiest way to do it. I don't like chips because they go too fast and
absolutely.
you can ruin a batch like that.
Mhm.
I've ruined one in 4 hours. Like I
Oh,
tried it and it was good after like 12 hours. And then I ran a whole bunch of errands, came back 4 hours later. And it's when you're new to the hobby, you
yep.
try stuff all the time. Like
Hmm.
I don't need to try it again, but I want to.
Yeah.
And 4 hours later, it was ruined. It was basically
Oh
drain
Lord.
cleaner. It was so
Lord.
oaky and tannic and bitter. There's nothing I could do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't like chips, and the finer they are, the worse it is.
Mhm.
But staves are good, and it's to me that's accessible to anyone.
Mhm.
When it comes to uh, barreling, I ran into Bad Motivator on
Mhm.
uh, the homedistiller.org forum, and I read everything that he wrote.
Yep.
And what was amazing to me was that he made these barrels and then showed us all how to do it. And he showed us his process, his prototypes. He was like, I thought about using glue in between the
Mhm.
slats of wood, but it's got to be organic. So he tried flour paste, and then he was just like, "Well, screw it. Let's just use pressure." Uh, and just all the steps that he went through to build these barrels, and then he magically decided to share that with everybody, and it was just astonishing. Also, not everybody knows this. Not everybody in the community knows this unless you've been on homedistiller.org. That guy built a still that looks like R2D2. I'm
Yeah,
I'm very sad that he is no longer with us because he was an
absolutely.
absolute genius.
Absolutely.
And thanks, Ben.
Absolutely. Cheers, brother. But the good thing is,
And
uh,
yeah, he
Chris,
shared all that knowledge. And yeah, now Chris is taking over the
mhm,
business and going to carry on that legacy for the family. And I think that is amazing. I'm actually going to hook up with him at some point here in the future. And but because Ben was so generous and so forthcoming with all of his knowledge, the guy that makes the 1030 barrels, I'm sorry, dude, I can't remember your name.
Ian.
Yeah. He hit me up a couple of years ago and was like, "Hey, do you want to try these out?" And I was like, "Sure. All right, cool." And what I love about those is that if you are distilling in a 5 or an 8 gallon pot, you're doing 5 gallon batches at a time, you're not getting 2 gallons of product that it takes to fill a bad motivated barrel.
No.
You're getting about a bottle or 2 bottles worth that it would take to fill these 1 quart size 1030 barrels. And it's the same process, but just on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love them. I
Yeah.
love all of them.
Well,
I've seen some. Go ahead.
go ahead. No, I was going to say to caveat that, as most of the people will know, and by the time this is out, it'll be long running. This podcast is actually sponsored by Bad Motivated Barrels. So, but but yeah, no, Ian over there at 1030, he is doing some really cool stuff. Um, and I went to a local distillery, Andalusia whiskey, if you've ever heard of it. You guys have never heard of me talk about Andalusia at all once. I got some of their new make, and I put it in a 1030 barrel. It's right back behind my head, and it was a French oak wine finished barrel. And oh my god,
Yeah.
after I think it's been in there for 8 months, it is some of the best whiskey, and it's their triple distilled, which is it was their white, but it was the triple distilled, so it didn't have any peat or smoke or anything in it. It is by far, like, the color on it's really dark, it's really nice, but at the same time, like, the flavor, it takes me back to Ireland. Like, literally,
Yeah.
I've never been to Ireland, but I would think that's what it would taste like. Is that is that whiskey? So yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm all on
And that's the
1030
biggest
as
difference
well.
between the 1030 and the bad motivator barrels. They take time. They take a lot of time to age your stuff. Whereas if you put a stick in a jar and pour spirit on top of it, you're going to have something that's pretty good in like 2 months, a
Yeah,
month or 2 months, 6 months at the outside. But with a 1030 or bad motivator, they age at the same speed as a giant 53-gallon barrel.
absolutely.
So it takes as long as it takes. It can take 1, 2, 3, 6 years, but you're getting all that flavor in a very slow progression,
Mm-hmm.
not all at once like you do with a stave.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting that oxygen transfer, so it's
Yes.
mellowing the spirit, and you're getting esterification, all kinds of
Yep.
weird magical chemistry shit that's
Mm-hmm.
happening in there. And I love that we now have that option, and we have several options.
Absolutely.
So
I,
it's
I
good stuff.
I love it. And the fact that, like, even people that don't want to touch a still, that don't want to have anything to do with it,
Yeah,
you
go
know,
get you a bottle of New Make from somewhere. There's
absolutely,
White
even
Dog whiskeys all over the
all,
liquor store.
all over the place. And I had a fellow listener. He told me he went to his local distillery, and they were like, "Bro, why has nobody ever asked us for the new make?" He got 2 gallons of new make, filled a Badmo with it, and now it's sitting.
Mhm.
And he's like,
Yeah.
he's going to take them a sample when it's like a year and a half old. He's going to take them a sample because they want to know. They want to know the side by side
Mhm.
between their big barrels compared to these. Because you know how cool that would look
Yeah.
behind your bar at your
Right.
tasting room, having some
Yeah.
old fashioned or something aging in a Badmo barrel.
Shit, yeah.
I'm actually doing a little whiskey event the 14th of August, and I'm going to either take a Badmo, depending upon how many people are there. They haven't got back to me on how many people are going to be there, either a Badmo or a 1030, and make an old fashioned.
Did you mean the?
Go ahead.
Did you mean the 14th of October?
October? Did I say August?
Okay, you did.
Okay, I'm sorry. I
just
meant
make
October.
sure everybody's on the
I'm
same
going.
page.
I'm going to level with you. I'm a time traveler, and I'm from the
Oh
future,
shit.
and I'm going back in time to pour whiskey for people. Whatever. No, October. I'm sorry, October. And so, like, I just need to know how many people are going to be there because I don't want to make 2 gallons of old fashioned, and then oh no, I have to drink all of it. But
Oh darn.
and here's the thing, I don't want to and I hate to say it like this, I don't want to mess up a Badmo with old fashioned. It might be cool to put something else in and see what happens with the bitters and stuff like that in it, but
But
at the
then
same
I
time,
think you're right. It's kind of a one use aging cocktails, mixed cocktails in a Badmo or 1030 is going to give you probably just a one use
mhm,
option. So like
yeah,
my thing is if you're going to barrel age cocktails, do it in a wooden barrel. One of the
yes,
little ones you can get on Amazon.
yes,
Because to me, those are I've used them before. They're fine, but they're not nearly as good as a Badmo because
yeah,
they will over oak your shit.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely,
but if you do cocktails in there, it's going to be a little quicker
mhm,
of an aging process than using a Badmo or a 1030, and you're going to get a much better flavor than if you just try to do it with staves. Um, so yeah, I would just get one of those wooden
yeah,
barrels for
yeah,
stuff like that. Just
that
just for your listeners. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling
right.
listeners
Well,
if you need something a little quicker.
my wife actually a while back had bought me one of those little barrels, and she had it engraved with my name on it and shit. But like, she
Hmm.
was like, you can make old fashions and put them in here. Well, I didn't. I had a half half empty bottle of Wild Turkey 101, and I said, hey, let me see what happens if I age it in there. Like, it's not a super expensive whiskey, but it's a whiskey I like. So I'm like, let me see if a little extra oak does anything. I left it for, I don't
Hmm.
know, 2-3 months, went back, and there was literally probably a tablespoon of whiskey left in it. It was totally evaporated out, and the whiskey that came out was black. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, not gonna drink that. So I wasted like what, 25
You,
bucks, but still, it was a fun thing. And that's what I tell people, like, go out there, try the things, you know, because
that's
you
the fun
never
of this
know.
hobby is trying new
Absolutely.
shit.
Absolutely. And even if you're just a listener and you're an enthusiast, like, that doesn't mean you can't get one and age something in it. Get some, even if you use
Hmm.
Everclear, I wouldn't say use Everclear, but even if you did use Everclear, you would get a cool light whiskey out of it at least. So I mean, do something. Do
Yeah.
something. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what? We talked
Now what do we
barrel.
talk about?
Now what? Yeah, we talked barrels. We talked. Okay, so you just did something that was really cool and near and dear to my heart. You just did a cherry. Can't say the German name for it.
Kirschwasser.
Kirschwasser. Yeah, you
Yeah.
just did that because I live in a German community, and I've been
Hmm.
wanting to recreate a wine, a brandy, or something like that
Hmm.
to kind of commemorate that, because in my community the older Germans are unfortunately passing away, and
Oh yeah.
they are not leaving behind their recipes for old homemade wine and old this. And
Yeah.
I'm literally talking to everybody when I go do my dreaded day job. I'm literally talking to all the old German people I know. I'm like, do you have any recipes?
Hmm.
Do you have anything
Yeah.
that I can get? And so this recipe that you did is actually really cool because it's very similar to something that I wanted to do. So tell us a little bit about the story behind that, and kind of the weird thing that happened when you made it.
Well, the actually you're mentioning old German relatives and stuff. My father told me about a relative who used to make blackberry wine, and he said it was very strong and very sweet. And that relative is, long, long gone before I was ever born.
Right.
But I picked my dad's brain about it. I said, "Tell me everything that you can about the flavor of that." And uh, he did, and that was what really got me into starting to think about making my own beer and wine. I think probably when I was in my 20s,
Oh wow.
and it just always kind of stuck in my head that, oh, I could make my own wine. That sounds cool. And when I finally started and got into it, I was like, I really want to recreate that wine. I just haven't had a good enough blackberry harvest
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
really make a decent attempt at it. The last time I did it, I had to add a bunch of blackberry puree. It came out, but I really want to try one that's just like a 5-gallon bucket full of nothing but fruit,
Yes.
and yeast, and then I just mash it with a fucking stick and see what happens.
Yeah.
But apparently this guy, he would just pour in ass loads of sugar like every few days and stir it until the sugar until the yeast just stopped working. So
Yeah.
basically, he created a toxic environment where there was too much sugar for the yeast to survive. It had created as much alcohol as it was going to, and it was still nice and sweet. And apparently, he just did it like in a crock on the counter with a piece of cheesecloth over the top. It was all wild fermented, and
Wow.
so I definitely want to try that. And the drought this year was
Oh
absolutely
God.
brutal. It was
Absolutely.
brutal.
My garden
I
my garden is shit. Literally,
Yeah,
I got
I got
nothing.
last year I got 15 pounds of um, muscadines,
Hmm.
and this year I got 6 pounds. I mean, I was driving past the places that I normally go to get grapes, and looking at the vines, and they were just, after the first 2 weeks of a good pick, they were all dead. That was it,
Yeah.
and I just wasn't going to get any more.
Nope.
So yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, so back to the Kirschwasser. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You said this is normally an hour-long podcast. I will find some segues to take.
You go. You
We'll end
do
up.
what you got to do.
It'll be 3 o'clock in the morning before I
Uh,
stop talking.
Well, I mean, I'm going to cut you off at some point. I got to go to bed.
So the Kirschwasser was another one that I think my grandfather or a friend of my grandfather's had mentioned it, and they were having some at a at a holiday party, and I got to try some, and I was like, oh, this is really good. But I hadn't had it again in years and years and years, probably decades.
Wow.
And so I went and I bought that bottle of absolute crap
Yeah,
in the liquor store. I went
absolutely.
to a liquor store, and I was just like, "Hey, do you have any Kirschwasser?" And the guy was like, "Huh?" And I said, "Where do you keep your brandies, your fruit brandies?" He said, "Like plum and peach." I said, "Yep, that's
Like
yes,"
like
and
that.
like that. And I found, that bottle of De Kuyper or De Kruper or whatever the hell however it's pronounced, and got it home, tried it, and immediately poured the rest of the glass out because it was just hot garbage,
It is.
hot garbage. Um, it didn't even taste like if it tasted like cherry Jolly Ranchers thrown in vodka, that would have
Mhm.
been a vast improvement. This stuff was just not. And it didn't taste anything like what I had had decades before.
Right.
There are certain things that you eat or drink that you will always remember that flavor. This stuff didn't taste anything like that. And so what I was trying to do was recreate that. And so I got together with the Liquor Fairy and, you know, just made my thing. The biggest problem with Kirschwasser or Rakia, any of the stone fruit brandies that are common in Europe and Eastern Europe, especially, um, it's down to personal preference about whether or not they take the stones out.
Mhm.
Most places, and it's not about the cyanide risk from the stones, it's the flavor. They either don't want that flavor or they do. Normally for cherry, they want that flavor because it's more amaretto-y. It's more, um, I don't know, it adds a richness and not necessarily a bitterness. But if you leave in like plum and apricot stones, you can get a really harsh bitterness.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that stuff just came out really, really well. I left this off camera. Um, I mentioned in the video that you could put all the mash in a bag and put that in your fruit press, or you can just squeeze it by hand. And off camera, I went ahead and I decided to use my fruit press and popped a hole in it.
Oh God.
Because one of the stones kind of like flipped up. The bag just kind of puckered up above the press plate, and it held there with a little stone in it, and then it just acted like a hernia.
Yeah. Yep.
And so as I'm spinning this thing, I'm like, that's gonna pop, that's gonna pop, that's gonna pop. Sure enough, it did. And because I was just sawing the bag open by spinning that thing down.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And as soon as it popped, it's just like
Yeah.
just it's just shitting mash
Yeah.
all out into the driveway. And honestly, it wasn't even worth the effort because I got maybe an extra quart
Oh shit.
to send out. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just like, okay, I could have just let
Not
this
worth
sit
it.
in a strainer. Yeah,
Yeah.
not worth it. But
Well.
yeah, that one was actually that was a trickier ferment. I could not figure out what was going on with it. I only got it down to 1.008, and it started at 1.072. So I still had a decent amount of sugar left in there.
Right.
And I tried everything. I mean, I've been through my unfair share of stalled ferments.
Mhm.
And this, I tried raising the temperature. I tried
Mhm.
lowering the temperature. And uh, I added nutrients. I added a different kind of nutrients. I made sure that my pH was, nice and stable. It didn't really matter. I think I added three different kinds of yeast by the time I was
Oh
done.
God.
And, you know, I was just trying to get it all the way down to dryness, but I know better than to bother with that. One of the
Yeah.
things I've said before is don't be greedy. Just
Yep.
run what you got. Unless
Yep.
it's like ridiculous, like
Yeah.
a 1.7 and it only fermented down to 1.03 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep try again,
Yeah.
or there's something wrong.
Yep.
But like the melon shine that I did
Mhm.
was the same way, except way worse. That one I figured out it was the pulp. You can't put melon pulp in a ferment. It's got to only be the juice. Something in the pulp kills yeast.
Yep.
But yeah, the cherry was just more stubborn, but it turned out a really good product. The Liquor Fairy ran about a quart of wash in the thumper and the rest in the boiler, and nice and low and slow. But
Mhm.
it's good enough that through a single run. But it was it was a small volume, and I think that I mentioned that in the video, but it really is kind of a problem
Yeah.
when you're doing a small volume on a still that's not made small. Like I did that mini still. The
Mhm.
mini still handles a gallon at a time, and uh, if you put it in a still that's for 5, 6, or 8 gallons, it's just there's too much area inside there, and things are going to start to get a little muddled,
Mhm.
and you're not going to get as clean of separation on your cuts. And hypothetically speaking, of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, there's a local distillery here in town, and he practices in an Austrian, not Australian, an Austrian style eau de vie. And when he
Uh,
does, like, our town is big on peaches and stuff like that. That'll
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
give
yeah.
that'll kind of give it away. I'm sorry, but it like what he does, he'll take the peach crop and he will take half of his stones, throw them away, and then he ferments and mashes on the other half of the stones. And I've actually helped
Yeah.
him
See, he's figured out there's a recipe there.
exactly. And
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 I think that's I'm
he's a
sorry, go ahead.
he's a mastermind at his particular eau de vie that he's trying to make, because eau de vie being a white spirit, unaged,
It's gotta be
anything,
amazing.
it has to be great. And the
Yeah.
past two that he's made have been pretty good. The issue is, and I know, I mean, this is not dogging him. Do what you got to do to get it, and I understand yields are bad. He wasn't even able to make the peach this year because peaches didn't make. He made a pear, but not the peach. Anyway, the past 2
Yeah.
years, a 375 was like $120. So like, yeah,
Wow.
I mean, but he didn't have a very high yield on it as well, like you're saying. So
Yeah.
I think, and of course his still is a commercial size. I think it's right at 100 gallons or something like that. It was in liters, but I don't know what that is. But anyway,
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is either your price at the commercial level, when you start making brandies, it takes an incredible amount of fruit to make one bottle,
absolutely,
an incredible amount, like 50
absolutely,
pounds. And it's so good though. It's so
absolutely, it is.
delicious. I mean, I I I spend so much money when I make brandies.
Hypothetically, yes.
Hypothetically.
I was talking to and by the time this comes out, the episode will be out a long time. I was talking to Robert Licorice from Iron Root, and he was saying when they make brandy, they are going through tons, tons. I'll say it again, tons of fruit,
Yeah.
of grapes, of
Mhm.
grape wine or whatever.
Yeah.
And luckily they're getting some of it from like wineries around the area.
Yeah.
Hidden Hanger is one that they pull from a lot. So it's like some of their stuff that maybe kind of went a little like, it might be a little oxidized or
Yeah. Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that, which if you distill that, it's not going to come over. So it's fine.
No.
But at the same time, like he's like, you would not believe we tried to make a fresh brandy and it was so much fruit. And we're like, no, we're
Mhm.
not going to do that no more. We're going to do just juice
Yeah.
because
When you get it all pressed and you look at what you have, what first the amount of material you brought in, then the work that it took to process it all,
yep.
and then you look at what you have, it's just like, oh my God, was this
Yep.
even worth it? And then you taste it, and you're like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it
okay.
was.
Okay. Yeah. It's
It,
worth it.
it was. It's that's yeah, it's unbelievable how much of a difference there is in your return on your investment
Mm-hmm.
between whiskey or any grain spirit versus any brandy. It's just,
You're right.
I mean, here's your brandy investment at the top of the screen. Here's your whiskey investment, and then here's your return,
Yeah.
just like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, but so
So
good, so good.
I forgot to ask you before we got not before we got started, but normally what I ask my guests who come on, and I guess I'll consider you a guest, um, is what whiskey are you really, if you're super into whiskey, if not, I get it. But what whiskey are you into right now that like if you're out of bottle, you got to go get another one. Everybody's been all over the place with it, so it's not a trick question. It's just something that is like, hey, what's your go to or something you have to have on the shelf, other than stuff the liquor fairy is leaving behind.
Hmm, that's difficult.
It is. That's why I do it. While you're thinking, I actually made this is some homemade wine I made, and
Yummy.
it is from you're not gonna believe it. It is we had a party months back, and it is a chicken express sweet tea that I fermented
Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, come on. Hey, you think it's just you doing weird shit? No, I'm doing weird
That's
shit.
awesome.
This Chicken Express sweet tea, it only ended up being like a 1040 to 1050 gravity. And I was like, oh, hell no, that's not enough. So I bumped it up to 1090 and fermented it. And it's been sitting on a little bit of oak for, oh God, 9 months, a year, maybe. And so I'm having so if everybody's seeing me pour out of this bottle, it's not whiskey. I think it ended up being like 11%. So it's a pretty decent wine.
Yeah, that's a good wine. That's a good stout wine.
It literally tastes like Mike's Hard or Twisted Tea, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That is pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, I can with what I can
honestly,
do, you know what I mean?
For me, I'm gonna have the easy answer. I can't give you a specific.
That's fine.
I can give you an easy answer.
Do it.
Anything from Iron Root.
Mm-hmm.
Anything from Iron Root.
I mean, that's a cop out since I was just talking about them, but
well, that's and that's just kind of where I'm at right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, I had a Balcones phase. I had an Andalusia phase. I have had a Yellow Rose phase.
Oh yeah. Coming soon.
But yeah, I've kind of been all over the map, and it's like I'm gonna have to work my way through this. But honestly, I don't drink enough. I mean, that is kind of a bad thing. I don't drink enough.
Absolutely.
I'm working on it.
Absolutely.
So, so it takes me a long time to get through stuff. I have to, go find some friends. Or how do you make friends?
Well, I mean, it starts out like this. I think we're doing pretty good. No,
so far.
So far. I think the date's going well. No. I mean,
if you let me braid your beard, then we can stay friends forever.
No, it's really hard, and I'm gonna say this not as a like one of these Andrew Tate dude bros, but it's really super hard.
Fuck Andrew Tate.
Absolutely. It is super hard for guys, especially, to like make friends. Like, because your wife is always like, hey, I'm gonna hang out with my girlfriends and they have a husband. You might like him. He likes football. And you're like, yeah, but I don't give a shit. So
what if he's an asshole? Maybe he's that kid in class who would always eat glue. Yes. I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, maybe he does it for her, but he's not gonna do. He's not gonna,
Yeah, it's super hard, and the older you get, the harder it gets. I promise. It really literally is. Like, and I hate hanging out with like contractors I work for and stuff like that, because then you're like, so how's work going? Oh, we were at the same job. Yeah, it's fine.
Hey, you mean the shit I was doing right over there?
Yeah, like that.
I mean,
okay, no.
You can look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard. It really is. But I mean, I don't know why we're talking about friends now, but okay. So to wrap this up, and I'm gonna bring it back around. I'm gonna ask you a YouTube question, because as a new YouTube guy, I'm getting a little jump, and I'm getting some people listening and following and stuff like that, and it's great. And I love all my followers, and they're good people. And I want the true ones. I don't want all the bots and the bullshit that comes along with that.
And don't worry, YouTube will do you a favor and filter that shit out every year.
Oh, okay.
And your subscriber count will go.
Okay.
It'll just, you'll like lose 5,000 subscribers, and then it'll start to come back.
I guess I have to get to 5,000.
Not that many. Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not that many, but like you'll occasionally, like every 6 months or so, maybe 8 months or so, you'll lose like 100 subscribers, and you're like, where'd they all go?
Shit,
and it's bots.
Yeah.
But but it comes back because YouTube actually filters through that, and they say these are suspect, we're going to take them out, and then they look through them and they say, oh, okay, these are okay, and so they put some of them back, at least in my experience.
Right. So I kind of want to know a little, and if you can get into this, and I don't want you to go too deep into it, but like a little bit of the behind the scenes, like I know it's different for you because, and we can talk about this if you would like, and you know, however you want to go there. But like you've had some episodes, and then you've had a time period where you're getting reduced episodes, and then you had some more episodes. Does that give you a huge hit in like subscribership
Oh,
and shit
yes.
like that?
If I had been consistent
Mm-hmm.
since, because Jesse and I started at about the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to compare myself. I'm not going to compare my content to Jesse's content
It is different.
because he puts out some amazing shit and his production quality is so good and he's so smooth. Like I edit the shit out of my videos because I and my way through every fucking sentence. And he doesn't have to because that's not the way he
Yep,
talks. It's just the
absolutely.
way my brain makes words come out.
Mm-hmm.
So I cut that shit out because otherwise my viewers are like, skip, 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 get to the point, And when shit happens with life, either clinical depression or some shit that happens with family emergencies, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You take breaks and then the channel goes and it sits. And then when you start doing videos again, it's like, eh,
Oh, yeah,
you got to rebuild that shit.
yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to do right now. This is like the second or third time some shit's happened and I had to, come back and rebuild the channel. I was in the process of doing that in March, and then my wife got really fucking sick just out of nowhere.
Yep.
And so I took a couple months off. And like I didn't even I didn't even watch YouTube videos because I couldn't. I didn't have
Right.
time.
Right.
And when you have extra stuff to do, this is it's not it's it's my passion to do this. This is what I love teaching, and I love showing the weird shit that I get into.
Yeah.
But it's got to take a back burner when shit hits the fan.
Mm.
You know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say this, and being someone who knows a little bit about the back end of it, being a
Yeah.
Patreon supporter of yours, and I appreciate all the extra content you're trying to do for that. But also the core members are going to be there no matter what, and you need to understand that. And I know like it sucks when you see a dip, and then like you're talking about sponsorships and stuff like that, and I understand that, but at the same
Yeah.
time, none of that shit matters if your house ain't right. If your house ain't right,
Right.
that's the
Yeah.
main thing you have to worry about, because in the end, YouTube is a platform, and yes, it could create monetary gain, and that's great and that's cool, but at the end of the day, it's not worth your life or anybody else's life, or putting that on the
Yeah.
back burner. You always have to think about other things first. And that's one of the cool things about you, is you're like, hey man, I got to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
It's instead of trying to stress through it,
I
make it
used
work.
to. I think the first time it happened, I tried to work through things, and I started wearing myself really thin, and I just felt so guilty that I wasn't putting out content. And honestly, things in life were easier at the time, so I wish I had kind of figured my shit out and pushed through it and kept with it, because chances are I would be in a better position to not have an outside day job, or at least not have an outside day job that cooks me like a
I know,
frog in a pot.
brother. I feel you, brother. It's this
Yeah.
heat is killing me.
Oh man, it was so bad this year.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But that's the cool thing about what
Kept
you're
hoping
doing.
I was going to sweat off some of my weight. Really didn't
Absolutely.
happen.
No, it
I
didn't,
was like,
which is
why?
weird.
Why am I not skinnier?
Yeah, like what the hell's going on here? Is it like
Yeah.
the air is making me fat but yet skinny at the same time? What the hell? The heat is like putting
My
Twinkies in my
skin looks
belly.
amazing, but
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, no, it's really cool that you can take a step back and be like, this isn't, and I hate to say that YouTube and all that bullshit is like a fantasy world, but it kind of is. Like, you think about it, if
Oh
you
yeah.
lived in that world all the time, and I've talked to Jesse at length about this, if you live in that world all the time, you live that fantasy. You know what I mean? Look at
Yeah.
Mr. Beast. I mean, good Lord, he lives his fantasy at this point.
Well,
But
he's a billionaire and he can afford to live in a giant toy store.
absolutely,
You know.
absolutely. Putting
Also, it's easy for a guy like him to say, "I don't care about money."
absolutely. When you don't have to worry
Like
about
he
money,
straight up said, "Oh, I don't care about all this money. I'll give it away tomorrow. I don't care." Okay.
that, oh, okay. Yeah.
It's easy
What,
to say when you're a
yeah,
fucking billionaire, but
absolutely. When you have everything paid for and you don't have to worry about anything, yeah, you can give away a
ever
couple
again,
$100 million. Like,
ever again, like
I mean,
literally he could stop doing it and be fine for the rest of 10 lifetimes,
absolutely,
you know.
absolutely. And I don't hate him for it, but at the same time,
I
you
don't
know,
either. He
you
figured
know,
out a niche and he has, pounded the shit out of it.
absolutely. And I've watched a couple of his videos, just like seeing what the hell is he
So
doing
have
that.
I, just a couple, because
Yeah,
you hear his name over and over,
absolutely,
but
absolutely.
I'm
And I'm
like,
like,
yeah,
this
this content is not for me.
it is
This is for
garbage.
younger kids,
This
and
is
yeah,
garbage. Yeah.
I mean,
So,
if I was 12 or 15, I would think,
mhm,
wow, this is amazing.
yeah.
I
No,
want to
it's
go and, jump in a giant pool of elephant toothpaste too,
yeah,
or
exactly. Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, whatever. But anyway, so it's cool that you can take a step back from that and kind of like put your priorities where they need to be. And I'm hoping that now that you're back in releasing videos, Lord willing, continuously now, that this the growth will continue to follow. So
Yeah.
what is the how do you see the and I know this is the trick question and it's the last one. What do you see the future of the Bearded and Board channel? Like, how do you see it? I'm not going to give you a timeline, like, let's call it a couple of years, a year, however you want to look at it. Where do you see it going? I mean,
Well,
obviously making weird shit, but other than that,
first I first I got to run for president. No.
absolutely. Come on, I'd vote. I'd vote for
No.
you. I don't even know what side
Never.
you're on. I don't care.
Never. I
Absolutely. I
hate
don't want that.
politics.
I don't want that.
Um,
I don't want that headache.
no, the only politics I care about is legalizing hobby distilling at the federal level. That is the only politics I care to discuss with anyone.
Amen.
Um, so here's my goal: make a couple $1 million
Okay.
somehow, and then pay for a lobbyist to go back to Congress and
Mhm.
lobby to get hobby distilling legalized.
Okay.
Because when I started getting in this hobby in 2015, uh, that that was happening. There,
It
the
was.
owner of Brewhouse America, Rick something.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Um, it's been a while since I've been in the scene, but he spent $60,000 of his own money to
Mhm.
pay a lobbyist to go to Congress and get legislation drafted, and we got that close. But it was, basically the whatever. Anyway, it didn't happen, and
It
so
didn't.
like dream scenario, yeah, I make enough money to do that. Um, reality scenario, keep making weird ass videos and eventually be able to afford a new camera and a lavalier mic and maybe a light so that I don't have to turn on every light in my kitchen.
Absolutely. I know exactly
You
how you
know,
feel, brother. I get
that and just being able to afford the ingredients that I want to get and fuck around with, because there's so much cool stuff that um, the further away it is, the more expensive it is.
absolutely. Absolutely. And you've always been an innovator of doing weird shit with weird ingredients. So like it's
Yeah,
always been an expensive hobby for you to begin with from the start because you wanted to
I
make,
have
you wanted to make the
so
weird
many
shit.
ideas.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
have,
So
and the reason why I want to do it is not to like, spit in the face of, oh, well, the liquor industry doesn't know what they're doing. No, because I haven't found that anyone else has done it before. So I
yeah,
want to try it. I want to see what it tastes like. How do you make it? That's why I made Baiju. I thought, shit, that is fucking weird. We don't do anything like that with whiskey over here.
yeah.
Solid
Absolutely.
state fermentation? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yep.
How does that even work? And the more I dug into it, the more I was fascinated by it. I mean, I was hoping that a Chinese still manufacturer would contact me and send me a still to play with, because the heavenly pot still that they use is made out of fucking bamboo.
Yes.
That's
Yes. Yes.
crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd love to play with one of those, but I mean, that's the kind of stuff that really gets me going, gets me excited about saying, look what weird shit I found out. I got to show you guys this.
Yep.
That's the amazing part about having this YouTube channel, is that I can bring weird shit to more people than I ever would have expected,
Mhm.
that find it fascinating too. You know, I
Absolutely.
love that.
Absolutely. And that's
So
one of
as
the
long as I can
things.
keep doing that, that's my future.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things why I wanted to have you on, because I know you're doing cool shit and I know you need more. Here's the thing. My millions and millions of followers, they're going to follow you and they're going to be like, "Yes, Joe Rogan Jr. told me to follow you." No. No. No, literally, like, if you guys are into any of this shit that we're talking about, like, Bearded does some shit that, like, I can't even tell you. Like, there's some things on there where I'm like, I don't even know if you should be doing that. That might be, I mean,
Yeah, oh yeah, and
that,
that's part of the fun, is
yeah,
when you tell me that something won't work, I'm gonna try it. And I will
absolutely.
probably make a video of it, letting you know that this was dumb. Don't do it. It tasted horrible. However, if you want to try it, maybe go this
Yeah.
direction, and you might get something usable. I mean, with the tequila thing, I mean, honestly, my second tequila video, I mean, I don't even know if I should say this. Well,
Say
I'm
it.
never going to have enough money to start a distillery. There's a part of me that wants to pull that video down, because
Why?
I think I found something.
Okay.
I think I found something. I
Okay.
think I found the magic.
Okay.
You can't you can't cheaply get the pinas
No,
to make tequila
you
here in
can't.
Texas. It
You
is
can't.
not something that's easy to do.
Nope.
Um, so whenever there's a small agave spirit maker here in Texas or anywhere in the United States, they're doing it with agave syrup, and then they make a honestly, it's not good. I mean, there's nothing wrong. It doesn't taste bad when you make an agave spirit. It's just
Mhm.
boring. There's
Mhm.
not that much to it.
Yep.
There's a little bit of a sugary character. There's a little bit of an agave character. It's all so muted.
Mhm.
But by taking those leaves that I found, the actual uh, maguey agave cactus leaves, and roasting them and adding them to the mash, that it's tequila. I don't know how else to say it. It's tequila.
Yep.
Whereas what I made before was a spirit that was, sorry, what I made hypothetically before was a
Hypothetically.
spirit that had an agave note. But this second round was fucking tequila. I mean, because you got all the terpenes and the weird ass flavor compounds and the shit that if you let it touch your hands, it burns your fingers.
Mm.
All that went in there, got broken down and chewed the shit up by the yeast, and it's tequila. And so, like, part of me is like, well, I need to not share this information, because this could eventually be a business for me. Like, if I were to start a distillery tomorrow, some millionaire comes to me and says, I want to invest in what Bearded and Board can do. Okay, we're going to start a tequila distillery, and we're going to start an agave spirit distillery, and it's going to be the best fucking thing anybody's ever tasted in America. Now, the guys who make it in Mexico, theirs will always be superior.
Yes.
But if I can make it here and I can make it fairly cheap using a waste product, they have to throw away, because they're not going to get any sugar out of those things. It's
Right.
just a flavor component. Um, you know, it could be competition, but
Yep.
those are pie in the sky dreams. And I think everybody who's in the home brewing and home distilling, community, whether you do it or don't do it, you still have this tiny kernel of a dream in the back of your mind that says, "Oh, one day I could open a business." It's a tough ass business, and
Absolutely.
I was a chef for 15 years, and I will never open my own restaurant. Not if I had
Absolutely not.
$10 million sitting there to do it,
Nope.
because I know what it's like. And home brewing and home distilling is fun, just like cooking at home can be fun. Um, but doing it for a business is, you think it's boring sitting next to a still for 6, 8, 10 hours at home in your garage. Imagine doing it at work and knowing that when you're done, you have to hog out that still, get all that grain into a bin to take to the cattle rancher.
Yep.
But, there's a part of me that still thinks, man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would. It would. I know. I feel the same way, because like every time I go to a place like Andalusia where they're doing everything on site, in house,
Yeah.
Moose is over there dumping out the mash tun, all that stuff, and it's like, this would be so cool. I mean, if they could pay me enough. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry, Ty. You can't pay me enough. I mean, I unfortunately I make too much doing what I do, which I don't know how, because like I can't even afford my mortgage, but yet I make too much. Anyway, like
Fucking
I would,
taxes, right?
yeah, absolutely. I would love to do
Yeah.
that for like what, a couple of weeks, a month, and then afterwards you're
Oh,
just like,
sure.
oh crap, another day of running to still, and I don't want
Yeah.
it to turn into something to where like I hate the whiskey coming out. Like I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Like I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want it to
yeah.
turn into that. I want it to be this mystique of like, ooh, what's the new thing coming out? Like what are
And
we doing now?
yeah, that's the thing is if I were to have a commercial distillery, I would still want to fuck around.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I probably wouldn't sell anything because, oh, he's particular this week, or I did something weird ass shit with pecans or something.
Absolutely.
Just so I would have a whole bunch invested in all these different products and no real theme
Mm-hmm.
to what it is that Bearded and Board Distillery actually makes. What are they? What are
What are
they
they
known
doing?
for?
Yeah.
Uh, Depends on the week.
Yeah. And that to me is so cool that like, even if you were, hypothetically to go and do a big thing, you'd still be doing the shit you're doing already. So
Oh yeah,
like to
100%.
me that just shows your drive and initiative in what you're trying to do, and your like love of the actual craft of
Yeah,
doing all of that.
I will always search for what is weird and unexpected and see if I can. I always want to get to the very bottom, the very base of whatever it is that I'm gonna try. I want to find out where did that come from? How was it always done? And what are the changes that were made along the way? And then if it's something strange, like that's going to be strange to the Western palate, like Baiju. Baiju
Yeah.
can be terrible. It can taste like
Yeah.
fingernail polish remover.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I will, see how I need to make adjustments in order to bring that closer to something that a Western palate would enjoy.
Yep.
Um, and I have so many ideas that I don't think I'm ever going to run out of stuff to try. So
And that to me
yeah,
gives me a lot of hope for your channel, especially because like I can't wait to see
me too.
what kind of crazy shit you're gonna get into. So on that, any last words before we get off?
Uh, I don't know. Watch my videos, share them with your friends.
Awesome. Awesome.
I
So,
could definitely use. I want to hit 100,000 subscribers someday, and at the current math, it's probably going to be like 3 more years.
oh wow. Well, no, so guys, here's your mission statement of the night. Ready? Go subscribe to Bearded and Board. It's pretty easy. He's the only Bearded
And
and
it's
Board out there, and it's
that's
free.
true.
It's
It's free to
free.
subscribe. Doesn't cost you
So
anything.
let's get him to 100K. Let's do it.
So's the like button.
And yeah, the like button is free. So let's do it. And I guarantee you go there, even if you're not into the home doing stuff, whatever, like you're gonna find some cool shit in there. I promise. So please go and do
Yeah.
that. Um, and again, I can't thank you enough for coming on here, and obviously stick around. I want
Thanks
to
for
talk to
having me,
you.
brother.
I want to talk to you, and I would love to have you back on in 6 months, a year, to where we can sit and talk about the bullshit we talked about before, and how
Yeah, absolutely.
it's furthered along, because I feel like that's going to happen with a lot of the guests I have on here, like, that I want to have them on again, because like, this is an ever changing world. This whole world of whiskey
Yeah.
and liquor making and all of this stuff, it's ever changing, and I want it to continue to change with the times. And I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think what everybody's doing, I mean, y'all are doing some weird shit out there, guys. Like, this is crazy. But I love it. So
Well, hopefully, the next time we talk, I will have some. Um, I'll have some even weirder shit to talk about.
absolutely. Well, it's been fairly weird enough, so we're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna leave it at that. And I really appreciate everybody for listening and watching, if you're watching at home. And as always, keep your spirits up. Thank y'all.